The reason I started Turning Points for Families, which is a highly specialized program, was because I was finding that traditional reunification therapy was an utter failure in reconnecting children with a severely alienated parent. I named the program Turning Points for Families because it was designed to be a new beginning. I have no idea why some people are referring to Turning Points for Families as a camp. It was never a camp. On day one, I walked the family down memory lane in the memorabilia intervention. I asked the alienated parent to bring pictures and photos and memorabilia in cards that they exchanged when they were having their loving relationship with the child before the alienation. And we walked down memory lane and relived those experiences. You don't have to tell the child their thinking is wrong at all. They will experience that in the memorabilia intervention. So they discuss what was happening in those pictures. And it's really an icebreaker for that relationship. The children love it. Who doesn't like looking at pictures of their childhood, of their birth, of things they did when they were younger? So this is very, very pleasant for the child. After that, I take the family to lunch, and the alienated parent is already in their parental role again. They sit with the child. If the child says, "Ms. Linda, may I go to the bathroom?" I'll say, "Well, your parent is sitting right next to you. Ask your parent." Anything to enhance the relationship and parental role of that parent that they may not have had for as many as 4, 5, and 6 years. So after lunch, and I feel like grandma at this point, by the way, and I love that. And we have the activity. And it is selected by the child with, of course, the alienated parent's approval for appropriateness. And I go with the family. I don't do the rock climbing, but I take pictures of the rock climbing. And I send that back even to the alienating parent, who I don't want to exclude, and I have never excluded in this intervention. And so I go with that family to the activity, and the alienated parent is back in a role that they have craved for years and were denied, of playmate, encourager, supporter, supervisor, advocate. And they just naturally reconnect that way. It is so spontaneous, something that cannot be achieved through talking, which is why the focus of Turning Points for Families is on experience. Put them back in that role. And it brings me such pleasure when we go to an activity like Bounce. And in that activity, the alienated parent and child bounce into each other. And you could see the smile on both the child and parent's face that they have had contact with each other that they haven't had in years. And it's uplifting, and everybody enjoys it. And it brings tears to everybody's eyes, and they just embrace so spontaneously. After that activity, we go back, and generally we separate at dinner time. Even though I'm on call 24/7 or 24/7. So I leave the family the first night with the instructions, don't talk about why you're here. Just continue the activity portion. Play games or board games, go to a movie, watch TV. Again, in the morning, we do have an opportunity to talk. I play the video Welcome Back Pluto, which was designed and narrated by one of my colleagues, Richard Warshak, who's a psychologist, and it role plays what happens in the situations of alienation. It does not pathologize or criticize the alienating parent. We just talk about healthy behaviors in the family. And this may be the first opportunity that the alienated parent has to explain the correct narrative about them, that they weren't abusive. In advance of this meeting, I talked to the alienated parent to be sure that they don't say anything negative about the alienating parent. It is just about describing behaviors and correcting the revisionist family history. And as long as the child and the parent and the therapist talk civilly and respectfully to each other, we can have a discussion. After that discussion, I take the family to lunch again, and we have an afternoon activity, which again enhances. The point of the activity is for the child to enjoy it and for the parent to be back in a parental role, so it's natural and spontaneous. I actually believe that the activity portion of the program is the most therapeutic, and that's what we do believe in family therapy. Create experiences. Actions speak louder than words. On day 3 of the program, we have interactive memory videos, and the kids really love it. They have a great time. The purpose of that is all children come in thinking they remember everything perfectly, and they've been so programmed to believe that their alienated parent had abused them, mistreated them in some way. That has to be corrected so that they can have the possibility of a normal life. And the best way to do it is not trying to talk children out of it, because the programming in alienation is like the programming in a cult. You can't talk somebody out of it. So we play these interactive videos that show the fallibility of memory. In one of those videos, they become witnesses to a crime. Of course, it's staged, the camera robbery. They are asked throughout the video questions about who they thought the perpetrator was, what happened, how many people were involved, what got robbed, so on and so forth. And they all think they're going to beat the memory test, and how a plant in the witnesses who distort the events can influence all the actual witnesses of the robbery. So this is very instructive to the children. You don't have to tell them their memory was wrong. They experience it for themselves in a fun way. This is the feedback I've gotten, is this is one of the most interesting parts of the intervention. Of course, there's lunch and the afternoon activity. On day 4, we summarize where they started out, where they are now, what's going to happen. All the children want to know about when they're going to see contact again with their other parent. And I let them know that I've been involved with their other parent. I don't ignore them. I call the alienating parent every night after the intervention. I assure them their children are okay. I text them multiple pictures of the afternoon activity so that they can see their child having fun, that the child is safe. And I encourage that parent to comply with the court order, which usually includes writing a support letter for the relationship between the child and their other parent, and then to get into therapy so that they understand the reasons that the court took their contact away. I want to facilitate these parents to be able to have contact with their children again and encourage them to comply with the court order. And I make it clear that that's my work with them. And that once they get a therapist, I am also willing to collaborate with their therapist to make sure that the therapist understands what is required by the court so that the no contact period can be lifted sooner than later. We talk about what life is going to be like now living with their alienated parent. You know, when a parent hasn't seen a child for 4, 5, and 6 years, that's a lifetime in a child's life. Alienated parents may not know anything about how their child has developed after so many years, how they've matured, who their friends are, what their interests are. We have a discussion about that to smooth the transition to the alienated parent's home, and the child has a voice commensurate with their age and maturity to participate in the decisions they're going to live with and live under in their alienated parent's home. And after that, again, we have an activity and we have tearful goodbyes. And I let them know, if I don't feel like grandma on the 4th day, I didn't do my job during the 4 days. And most of the time, I have felt like grandma. There have been a lot of challenges in recent years doing the Turning Points for Families program because of social media. It has made it very easy for alienating parents to band together and basically propagate a lot of lies about what we do. It's part of the business model now.